Hello, everybody. Tim McCormick here. Thank you for coming on to our training today. And this is an exciting one for me to go over. Obviously, I've been going over these concepts over the last couple of days. So if you've been on the last two calls, awesome. If not, I hope that you went and listened to them because today's call, I'm not going to go in detail over the concepts again today. I'm just going to be talking about the workbook. It's a brand new workbook. We haven't used it before. We're going to be modifying this over the time, so it's going to change. But in its current form, I think it's super useful, and it's something that everybody should do, whether you've been with us 2 years or 2 days. It doesn't matter. I really think everybody is going to get something out of it because it's about making sure you're focusing on the best deals possible. And one thing I'm just gonna, yeah, let's just go ahead and start into this. Right in the beginning of the workbook, there's a saying, and it says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So this is probably the biggest mistake that our member offices make is they come in and just sort of chase whatever rabbit runs across their path. And of course, if nobody's going to start even with the perfect plan day one. You're not going to get 100% of the deals that you want, or even 50%, heck, even 20%. And you got to take down whatever comes across. Do the deals, help the people that you come across, do the deals that are there, but don't forget to have a plan so that at some point, even if it's after a month or 3 months or 6 months or a year, 50, 60, 70% of your clients are the same. It makes it real easy to quickly pre-qualify, screen people, real easy to make the next deal. Every deal that you do makes the next one easier to close because you can talk about the last 5 guys that were just like them that you helped through the same scenario. It gives you a lot of credibility, right? But again, I'm not going to go over the concepts in detail. Let's just jump right into the workbook. Everybody who is on here, I'm going to be sending it out to you as soon as the call is done. If you're not on here, then I'm going to wait and let your PM reach out to you individually. But everybody really should go through this. All right, so jumping into the workbook, where is it? All right, here you go. Market Focus Workbook. First of all, the main page talks about the primary decisions that you will answer through this exercise. If you've been on our trainings, you should recognize everything that you see here. And, but when you get to this page, before you start, what I want to stress is that while I have chosen a specific order to do things in, if you come in, the first thing I want you to do is just do an assessment before you even get started on if you have an existing strength or strengths. And if you do, I would literally jump to that section and do it first, and then whenever you're done with that, then go to the beginning and start, because it'll make sense, right? But just to go over the order real quick. First thing, assuming you have no specific preference, and I'll talk about this again in a second, then I would go in this order. First, start with the product or product mix that you'd like to target, and I would really say, if you don't have something specific in mind, start with a product, and then we can help you determine a product mix. But start with one or a couple things. When I say a mix, they should be things that work together based on your industry and all the other things that we talk about. And so it's easier to just start with one product and then add on to it, as opposed to whatever, picking a couple things and finding out that they don't work together. If you do have an idea, you want to do 2 products, you may find through this process they don't work together. That's great, right? But let's start with because this process will help you realize that otherwise you wouldn't have known that, and then give you a chance to fix it before you go waste the next 3 months trying to sell the wrong thing to the wrong people. Okay, I'm gonna mute everybody because I'm getting some weird background noise. If anybody has a question or comment, don't be afraid to type in the box. I'm more than happy to unmute you. Okay, so primary decisions you're gonna make first. You choose your product or product mix. Again, I recommend picking one product, and then we can add the mix as we go. Choose a target client, and that target client is going to be a combination of your geography, the industry they're in, and company size. Now, company size, I put it here mostly just so that you realize and that it's intentional who you're going after, because if you're going after manufacturing, if you're talking to a manufacturing company with 800 employees, it's probably going to be difficult. We're less positioned to help them, but smaller companies we can. So I just want to make sure that you put it all on paper exactly who we're going after. Product mix, target client, choose a target situation. hopefully you've been on the other trainings and you know what I'm talking about. I broke the target situation into 2 segments, client category and then the situation. And I'll show you what that is as we go through this. Then you'll choose your target agent, the person that can bring you this client who needs this product because they're in this situation. And then finally, at the end, you're going to choose your tactics. And the tactics are going to be the process through which you find your target agents. Exceptions to this would be what I talked about before. If you find that you're really strong in a particular area, then start there. So, for example, I tell everybody end with your tactics. Do everything else and end with your tactics. But if you're on here and you're, say, a really strong internet marketer where you know you're going to be doing Facebook advertising, for example, or whatever it is that you do, then in that sense, you want to do everything with the knowledge that you're going to be using this tactic at the end. And that's why I say maybe you start there and then go back and go from the beginning. Of course, if you're a strong marketer, you already know that you need to make a lot of decisions, and maybe you've already done some of these decisions. This would be a chance for you to go through those decisions again and reaffirm that they're right through a number of tests that we put into place. But so like I said, if you have a specific tactic that you know you're really strong in, then start there and then go backwards. If, for example, in the choose a target agent segment, if you happen to know that there is a network of people that you're very strong with, right? You spent the last 10 years in the franchise space and you know that you want to go after franchise brokers, well, great. Start there and then work backwards. Then think, what's a product that's good for the franchise space? Let's talk about the industry and company size. Of course, it's going to be startups. Let's find the situation. It's going to be when they go to purchase the franchise. You know, that makes the rest of the questions easy. I wrote this for somebody who doesn't have a specific strength anywhere. This is the order to go in if you're starting from 0. If you graduated from high school yesterday and you really have no idea what you're going to do this order. If you have a good network and a specific kind of agent, you know, I had an office that came on who thought that his background really wasn't going to help him. And then when after talking a little bit, we realized he had spent 20 years doing one very specific thing, and we found some ways to leverage his pre-existing network in order to benefit for deals now. That's great. Go find, you know, if people know you and you've already established credibility, it's going to be easier to get traction with them than going to people you never met before and offering them something when they don't know you. So this is one of the ones where if you have a target group that you're strong with, I would recommend starting there and then work backwards. Unless you find that target network is, let's say, everybody in a local area, and then it's going to be too diverse and dispersed for you to be able to come up with a focus. And in that sense, just start from 0 and go backwards. If you happen to know that you're really strong in a particular industry, great, well, start there and then work backwards and say, I am really strong in manufacturing. What products are relevant for manufacturing companies? By the way, don't feel you have to do this all on your own. Please, I would, you know, when you get the workbook, go through there and try to answer the questions to the best of your ability. But if you're stumped on something or if you got questions or you're not sure, please just get on the phone with your partnership manager here and they'll work through these with you. So like, for example, in that specific example, if you're strong in manufacturing, but you don't know what kind of financing we're going to be really good at providing that's going to be relevant to them, and get on the phone and we'll help you understand what those will be. You know, we have a lot of different products. Some of them, they have different benefits. And a lot of this is designed to have you go through the steps and make sure that they're all working together and not going against each other. You know, for example, if you want to go after SBA loans and you're targeting restaurants, and you might find that that's a tough match. Now, I'm not saying don't do SBA loans for restaurants, but you better know to begin with that restaurants are really good for revenue advances. They're going to be harder for SBAs in some circumstances, and start with that knowledge so you can work with that. Whatever hurdle there is in the market, that hurdle can be your benefit. That hurdle can keep other people out. So you can work with that. You can work with just about, there is enough business that just about any scenario or situation you bring forward can be successful. But what I want to make sure you know is that you know the hurdles and problems before you start so that you're expecting it, you don't get discouraged, and you can do things to mitigate those factors from the beginning instead of waiting 3 or 4 months on being surprised and being disappointed and then maybe starting over, right? Okay, so this is the first page. The rest of the pages I'm going to go through pretty quickly. The critical concept. Every page you have a critical concept at the bottom, and some people are telling me put the critical concept at the top. I could have done that, would have made sense, but often I put it as an afterthought. Like you have done the page, and then at the bottom you want to go back and stress test the decisions you made. So you can read the bottom if you want, it doesn't matter. But this critical concept says basically what I've just been saying is that you may pick a different order. Don't feel stuck in the order. The important point is that you answer all the questions and that when you're done, you find that they all work together and not against each other. All right, so the first section, choose a target product or product mix. We have the products listed here in alphabetical order, no preference, with some comments on there. There's obviously way more than the comments we have here, but I recommend starting with the product mix unless one of the other things was very strong. And so all we ask you to do is just fill in the boxes. Now, you could type it at this, or I actually think it's better for you guys to print it out and fill it in by hand. It might be easier for you, but whatever you want to do is fine. So the first thing I would say is just look at these products, which ones are you most interested? Maybe put a couple. Why are you interested in those products? Kind of think through it a little bit. And describe any prior experience you have with those products. Here is another page where if you have done 100 BDRAs and you're signing up with us, you maybe signed up with us because you're really interested in expanding to the other programs. Well, that is great. But first things first, make sure to build on your strength. And that is if you have specific experience in a particular product, leverage that. There's be fewer variables to change in the beginning. Unless you signed up because you hate this program and you really want to try something else, great, we'll work with whatever scenario we have. But I'll just tell you right now, if you already are strong in something, and this is a recurring thing I'm talking about through the entire process, if you're really strong in something, build on the strength, don't fight against it. Here's a critical concept on this one. If you choose more than one product, make sure they work together. So if you want to say focus on SBA and RBA, all right, that's awesome. You can market the SBA rates, and when people don't qualify, you downsell them into an RBA. Those products work together well in that scenario. I tell you, products that don't work well together would be CRE and RBA. CRE is a real estate loan. This goes for a client who, needs money out of real estate. RBA is for a business, and those could be very different customers. Now, there are ways that they do interact, right? They're both for people with bad credit, so in that sense, they could work together. Just make sure it's intentional and that you realize how they do and don't work together so you can capitalize on that. All right, so that's that page. The next is choose a target client. First, I ask you to put down where you live. When in doubt, go with where you're at. It's going to be easier than, if you're in Texas, there's no reason to market in Maine. And you may be thinking, I don't have to pick a geography. I'm going for an industry focus. That's great. Your industry focus might be more important than your geography focus, but I would ask you, please, in the beginning, do both. Give me a geography and an industry that you want to work in. So at least in the beginning, you can start with people that are local, and you're going to be more likely to succeed. Some people you may actually have to go out on location, especially early on. You want to put in the extra effort until you get real good at the programs and you feel comfortable to start working with people remotely. It's just easier to market to a specific geographic area than to everywhere. If you market to everywhere, you're competing with everybody who's marketing that product. If you market locally, then you have fewer competitors. Then you can actually put in, if you're in El Paso, you could put in El Paso funding and get your first clients. The whole point is get a track record, get some experience, get ramped up, then expand. It's easier to expand from a smaller niche to a broader niche than from a broader niche to a smaller niche. Company size, again, pick one. Employee count, gross annual revenue, or other variable, whatever it is, put it in here. Tell us what your target customer size is. And this is mostly just so we make sure that it works with the product that you're offering. The critical concept on this one, does your target client have a need for your target product, right? This is, again, I'm asking to make sure that, Don Kelly, do you have questions? Let me know, I can unmute you. Looks like you're trying to click. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you if you have a question there. But again, the critical concept here is a first stress test. You've now gone through a target product and a target client, and this is asking you, hey, did you do it right? Are you sure that your product works for your client? As opposed to, let's say you want to go after the UBF program, which is a credit card program, which you should know by now is for people with really good credit, and yet your industry is one that is known for having people with really bad credit. You can make that work, but you better know in advance that that's the variable that you're going to have to work through and be aware of it, right? So does your target client have a need for your target product? All right, next is the target situation. Here's the one where I'm asking you guys to get the most creative. This is 2 pages in the deal. First of all, I bring up a bit of a new concept, which is client category. And I really have 4 categories. Feel free to make up your own, but in general, I think everybody's going to fall into this one category. Sorry, in general, are you focusing on clients that are successful already, that are experienced? Are you focused on clients who are in trouble? Are you focused on clients who are new, who haven't done this before? Are you focusing on clients who are people that are looking for money to purchase something? Those are 4 different scenarios or categories. If you have a different category, great, stick it in there. But you need to know, marketing for somebody who is experienced and successful, this is more likely to be an SBA client. Distressed clients, that could be more RBA or CRE. Startup, we have a bunch of different startup. You get the idea, right? Know who you're going after, because the pitch for a company is going to be way different based on their client category. So it starts with the client category, and then you get into, and then it asks you what client category is best for your product mix. So think about it, right? SBA is good for successful, experienced, maybe startup experienced. If they have good experience, I mean, startups are always going to be harder for SBA. So, think about that a little bit. All right, client categories and their related target situations or events. These are examples to get you ready for the next page. Growing companies, a situation to target a growing company would be to see when they are hiring. A distressed company, you can see when they are declined for a loan. Startups, here's talk to a franchise or who's trying to sell a franchise. That's acquisition. Talk to a business broker. In general, need for a loan. There's trigger leads that you can purchase for when people apply for a loan. Growing companies, when a company buys new software, seeks new lease. Seasonal businesses, well, you just know when the seasons change that there's a reason to reach out. These are example situations, and it shows how they relate to the client category that you're in. Critical concept when we're getting into the situation. It's optimal to target a situation that is unique to your industry. So let me give you an example of a situation that's unique to your industry. Let's say, I'm blanking. I can think of ones that aren't unique. The situations that are not unique to your industry would be a seasonal, a seasonal change. Right, I'm blanking here, sorry. A situation that's not unique would be, so somebody contacted me the other day, said they were going to buy trigger leads for new businesses. So you can go to the state or the city or the county and get a listing of everybody that filed a DBA doing business as. They sell off the lists all the time. And people buy those lists and then they cold call the businesses like crazy. That is not specific to your industry. Everybody falls into the same category. If you go and do that, you're competing with everybody. Now, let's say alternatively, you're looking for new restaurants that are opening up, and you can find an organization that sells equipment to new restaurants specifically. If you can get a deal through them, now you're getting an in with startup restaurants that isn't published across the DBA categories, and now you're competing with everybody. I hope that worked as an example of something that everybody sees or something that would be specific right within your industry or within a tighter niche. The more specific and segmented and small that situation is, the less competition you're going to have. Conversely, if you go for DBA filings or new incorporation filings where everybody has access to that, you're going to be competing with everybody. So The larger the thing is, the more likely you're going to be competing with the big online lending platforms or the big ISO shops that are offering things, right? Small niche, that's what you guys want to be thinking. You want to be competing with one or two other guys instead of 20 other guys. It's going to make it way easier for you to get a deal. And by the way, this is one of the things that's awesome about the agent program. If you're using the agent program correctly, is that you get warm referrals from people that where they refer just to you, and now you're literally in a field by yourself. You're not dealing with somebody who went out and did something that told the world, I'm looking for money, and now they're getting called from all sorts of people. Like if you buy leads from Lending Tree, everybody and their brother buys leads from Lending Tree, and you know that your client is getting called from 7 or 10 other people. While conversely, if you can get them before they get there, now you're exclusive and they're working directly with you. All right, here's the second page where it talks about, go write up some of the target situations that you think would be good. And you think, which of those above situations fits best with your client category, right? Just go ahead and brainstorm, throw some different situations down, and retype your client category here, distressed business, and then write which one works best for distressed businesses. And here's another question. How would you know or see if someone matched this target situation? So now it's time for you to start thinking a little bit about, I put in hiring new employees, and this works for growing companies. So now you see, I gotta fix this. Those fields are linked. I'll fix this before I send this out. Now you see that your situation is hiring new employees. You know it's good for your client category. Then you start thinking, how would you know if somebody was hiring new employees? Well, you could look on Craigslist, you could look on Jobly, you could work with a recruiter. You get the idea, right? This is, now they're asking, how would you know that somebody fit that category? Here, just think of what the situation is, make sure it fits with your client category, and then start thinking how you would see it. And then another critical concept is your target situation is something that happens consistently and can be seen externally. If you've got an amazing situation where you know people are going to need money and it's specific to your industry, then that's all great. But if then you find out that you have no way to know when it's actually happening, well, maybe it's time to pick a different situation. I know that sounds obvious, but the point of writing it all down is then to go through and stress test it and think, it's not just can you see it, but does it happen consistently, right? So one of the examples I gave was a season change. Well, season changes do happen consistently, but you know, there's only a few of them a year. And if you need a season change in order to reach out to somebody, that's going to make it a little bit tough. So, you know, it just doesn't happen frequently enough. You want to be doing 5 to 10 deals every month at least. And so if you want 5 to 10 deals a month, you need to be talking to, you know, at a minimum of 1 to 200 prospects a month who match that situation. Can you find 1 to 200 prospects a month who match that situation who are interested in funding so you can close 5 to 10? All right, and then finally, once we've gone through all these things, we know what we want to sell, we know who we want to sell it to, we know where they are, we know the size of the business, we know what their situation is, what category they're in, and what's happening. And we've tested all that. Now we want to find a target agent who can bring us these people all day long without spending a penny in marketing and just come across these people. Like one of the good examples I gave with hiring employees is to get a bunch of recruiters. If you want to sell SBA loans to businesses that are growing, get a bunch of recruiters to refer people to you. They'll be happy to do it because their clients, you know, looking to get a 7% loan. Maybe they can hire 3 people instead of 2. The recruiter's going to make more money, and you're offering them good financing. You know, so it's a win-win situation. And then the goal is, instead of just taking every single agent who's going to sign up, which is going to be a lot of random people, specifically go after recruiting recruiters or whatever it is that you're recruiting. Try to get at least 50 to 60 to 70% of your agents to be all the same, homogeneous, right? It's some sort of unifying factor, and that unifying factor is the thing that you know will make sure they bring you the right clients. Imagine that. All right. Imagine having a big group of people that bring you the exact people you want in the exact situation you want. That's a recipe for success. That's a recipe for, after you do it for a little while, the leads get easier and easier because everyone you talk to is coming from a similar situation and you know how to do it. So that's really where this wraps up. choose a target agent, write down a group of people that you already have strong contacts with. Again, this is one of those situations where you might all of a sudden realize, oh, I really do have a strong connection here. Maybe I should go back to the beginning and start over. That's awesome. If you get here and start over, don't be frustrated. Be excited that you've recognized a strength that's going to help you succeed. So first, let's start with who do you know, and then what people interact with your prospective client on a regular basis. Like I said, recruiters. I've got some examples here. Please try to be creative beyond this, but I've got real estate agents, commercial leasing brokers, business brokers, insurance agents, consultants, just thinking off the top of my head, business brokers. What are they awesome for? Business brokers are great for people that are looking to buy a business. Obviously, they're out there trying to sell businesses. Insurance agents. Well, it depends on what kind of insurance agent they are. But if they're talking to small businesses on a regular basis, then that might be a great in. Do they specialize in a particular industry? Even better. Commercial leasing brokers they're out there helping businesses find new locations, either for growing or contracting. You could say, hey, anytime somebody's getting into a larger space, let me know. Or anytime somebody's downgrading to a smaller space, let me know, right? It depends. Larger spaces for growing companies, smaller spaces for a distressed company. You go to a commercial leasing broker, hey, every time somebody tries to sublease out their place, that usually means they're in trouble. Refer them to me. Let me see if I can get them some funding, because between you and me, subleasing your place is often very difficult. They're going to lose a lot of money in the sublease process. They'd probably rather not. They'd probably rather have their business grown again than to sublease it out. And then finally, how do the people above interact with your target? How do they do that? So, commercial leasing brokers, they go in Orange County, they go door to door all day long. They're walking in and talking to people. Or they're calling on a regular basis. So just write down how they interact so you understand what the dynamic is and figure out how you can work yourself into it. Maybe you go on the beat with your commercial leasing broker. He walks in and says, hey, I want to help you with your leasing needs, and I got a finance guy with me. We're the 1-2 punch for business growth. Whatever it is, that could be a good way to go. A credible concept is what I already said. Do you already have a strong network? If so, build on it. Maybe you should start over. All right, so we got through all that. And then I've got a fun little quote here. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. And this is why I put tactics at the end, because having a tactic, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I was going to do Craigslist marketing, great, that's a tactic, but who the heck are you going after? Everybody's marketing on Craigslist. It can be successful, but don't be milky, be specific, be targeted. If you have a good strategy, then the tactics will be easy. The tactics here, as this is written, are what are the tactics through which you're going to find these finance agents? You've already determined the exact finance agent you want to get. What are the tactics you're going to use in order to bring them on? Now, if you're sitting here saying, I started this process and I already knew I was going to be doing pay-per-click advertising, well, you already know your tactic. And it doesn't have to be, what are your tactics to get agents? Feel free to put in other tactics, but like if you're going to do Craigslist marketing or whatever it is, great. This whole thing is one big stress test for you to go back through and make sure that it all works together. At the end, so what I asked on this page is just to brainstorm and then pick your one most likely to succeed tactic. And if it were up to me, every one of you would get really damn good at this one thing. Would not be about getting really good at 5 or 6 different types of marketing. A year or two into this, as you grow, as you succeed, as you're going to branch out, and everybody should have a diversified market mix. You should all end up with 2 or 3 channels, primary channels where you're getting deals from, but not in the beginning. You want to get one and get good at it. If you're trying to work at 3 at once, you might not be able to make it through enough iterations on any one of those types of marketing to make it successful, and you might end up just getting frustrated and quit. Pick one, get good at it. When you pick one, you're going to run into hurdles. No matter what you pick, you're going to run into hurdles. Pick one, figure out the solutions to the hurdles, and succeed instead of bumping into hurdles on 3 different kinds and getting frustrated. So the one tactic. All right, and then the last page is a chance for you to summarize everything that you decided in the workbook. Put your target product or product mix, put your geography, industry, company size, put your client category, situation event, and the target agents you're going to be going after, and I need to add on the target tactic. And that's it. That is the run through on this. There is a next steps after this exercise, and I'm going to go over it super quick just so you guys know what it is in case you have any questions on it. But next steps are this. Now, if you've already been doing this for a long time, some of this may seem a little redundant, but for a new office, you want to verify that the domain and URL that you have fits with your strategy, or at least it isn't contrary to your strategy. You can pick just about any name for an office and have it work as long as the rest of the branding and everything makes sense. Just make sure that through some weird event you didn't pick a name that actually goes against. I don't have an example of what that would be, but just make sure not to do that. Choose your primary landing page. A lot of the offices are at the default landing page, and that can be good, but make sure it's a choice, right? You got option 1, option 2, option 3. You got the default, you got the single page with long questions, or the short page. I honestly think most people should be on the short page, but look at your options and know. And then write your headlines. Now that you know your target client, your target product mix, the situation, everything, put it into words so that when somebody comes to your landing page, they see that need addressed. And so you have the ability to do 2 lines for your headline, each 43 characters long, and 26 characters each for each of the 5 bullet points. If you're using landing page option 1, you don't need the bullet points because they will not show up anywhere. But even if you're using landing page 1, I would recommend go through, write down the bullet points. What are the 5 things that somebody needs to see in order to know that you are there to address them, their situation, their geography, their category, and the products that they need in order to help them achieve their goals. Remember, marketing is about showing them that you have what they need. It's about their needs, not your needs. This process is about making sure that your needs and their needs are in alignment and that you're marketing for the right people that can serve both of those. But still, you want to market, all your marketing should be about them, not about you. Let me show you an example. A marketing about you says, we are the source that can help anyone in the US. That is about you. Nobody gives a crap, all right? If you say, we can help you get the money you need to grow, that's about them. That's what they want to hear. Don't write about yourself, write about them. And that is it. All right, so let's open it up for questions. Anybody have any questions? I'm going to unmute everybody. Let's see if anybody's in a coffee shop or anything. Anybody have any questions or comments about the training or the workbook? All right, you guys are all stunned into silence. That's what I was looking for. I'm just kidding. All right, well, good. You know, it is what it is. Hopefully it's pretty straightforward. I'm really looking forward to seeing these actually completed. So I'm gonna make a couple tweaks and send these out to, looks like you got about 20 people on here. We'll get that out within the next hour. Once you get it, again, my recommendation would be to first scan it and decide if you're really strong in a specific area. This one especially. If you have a strong network, that's going to trump anything else, because you know, having a strong network is people that are going to have faith in you because they already know who you are. That's hard to replace. It's harder than anything else to replace. So start here if you have a good network. Otherwise, start at the beginning and work through it. Answer it to the best of your ability. Try not to get stuck on a question, spend forever thinking about it. Brainstorm through, throw down some answers, get on the phone with your partnership manager and go through it and make sure that we don't see any big flaws, and try to think through it a little bit. Once you get on with us, you might find that we can refine it even a little bit more, make it even more specific and more beneficial for you. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and wrap it up for the day. Thank you everybody for coming on. Appreciate everything you do, and I look forward to doing a lot more deals together.